Okay, so welcome everyone to the IT Workforce Cybersecurity Management Career Paths session. This is the first session of this digital hack, which is the Cybersecurity Hackathon being organised by Hackmakers. So I'd invite you, if you haven't already registered for that, to do so. We're also running a number of sessions this week, all starting at 5:30 p.m. The one tomorrow will be a follow-on from this one, which will also cover our online training, gamified cybersecurity training platform, which is called Project Aries, which is through Cadence. And we're pleased to have Laurie Webb from Cadence on the panel tonight. Okay, so getting started, and we're all here for cybersecurity or our interest in cybersecurity. But before we start, just a quick intro of myself. My name is Steve Elbourn, and I'm the Managing Director of ITIC. ITIC is one of the main sponsors for Digital Hack, alongside Oracle and IBM. Myself as the Director of ITIC, ITIC is a company that provides opportunities for students, university students and graduates. Also in the tech industry, I've co-founded a number of tech companies, including ITI, which was the original software house that I created back in 2014, a year ago, which is an Indigenous IT company. CyberSec Defence, which is a company that does work for government and large enterprise. Data, as well as Yarn Lab. My roles, other than directorships, include industry advisory board member at Macquarie University and University of New South Wales, as well as a short course lecturer at University of Technology, Sydney. And I'm also the industry stream lead at the Macquarie University AIP Research Centre in stream lead for education. Now you can see there I've just posted my LinkedIn profile down the bottom, so feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn and look forward to working with you as we go along in your career. Okay, so what's ITIC? So ITIC has been around for almost 20 years. It was established in 2001, and we build career pathways for IT graduates, working closely with many universities, some of which that I mentioned. We provide training, certification, and importantly, work integrated learning programs. We have a software development arm, as well as DevOps and automation, and we provide IT consulting services and support. Our offices are located in Sydney CBD, as well as a regional presence in Orange, New South Wales. We have, as part of our group, data and cybersecurity, IT help desk and software development teams. We're also recently or almost completed our accreditation for the Australian Computer Society Professional Year Program, which allows postgraduate students to come in and provide a pathway to permanent residence as part of their education program. You can see there we've got professional IT testing facilities, as well as classrooms, and quite a large office, particularly in the Sydney CBD, that can host a large number of students at any one time. Some of the things that we do as far as helping people within their learning programs at university, as well as graduates, is we provide work integrated learning programs, and we approach this in a new way that allows companies, so we can tailor the programs that we do for companies, our host companies and our own companies, that actually provides them with the ability to outsource or have students who are coming through the graduate programs have already been onboarded in some of the company processes and systems and the basic training that's needed, that's usually done within the first month of that process. And some of the universities that we're working directly with include Macquarie University, University of New South Wales, and most recently Charles Sturt University. And some of our work integrated learning programs, cybersecurity, obviously they're up the top, but also data science, software development, and IT help desk. And these are all aligned to some of the most in-demand job streams that you can go to as part of your career and after graduation. And we've got a list there on the right-hand side of some of our internal host companies as well as external partners where we do internship placements and working integrated learning placements at. And some of our partners, once again, we have data which combines academia and industry to solve data and AI problems. CyberSec Defence, which is a leader in cybersecurity services for commercial and government clients. Urigar, which is creating cybersecurity and IT technology career paths and pathways for Indigenous Australians, and the AIP Research Centre, which is helping organisations understand big data and use it in intelligent ways. Now, I'm pleased to announce, and Michael Kaplan, who's on the call, and the director of Phase 2, I'm pleased to announce our Phase 2 partnership. And this is where we're taking ITIC's cybersecurity training program to a whole new level. And that includes the Phase 2 curriculum, as well as learning through gamification, which is part of the Cicadas Project S. And I'll introduce Michael and ask him to contribute very soon. So just a couple of things that I wanted to go through. So why choose a career in cybersecurity? And one of the things that I found while searching for some of the interesting articles and fun facts available around the place is that cybersecurity at the moment and into the future equals job security. And a comment from Joe Franzi, who's the head of cybersecurity at the Australian Signals Directorate and a senior member of Department of Defence, is that the demand for cybersecurity professionals is insatiable at the moment. And this is not just an Australian problem, it's a global problem. And I read globally there's more than 1 million vacancies, particularly in cybersecurity. And that's what we're trying to address. That's what governments are trying to address. And that's why we're all here and promoting cyber as a career option. And that's why we've got so many attendees on this presentation, which is great. Now, AusCyber, who's also one of the sponsors of this event, AusCyber Research predicts a shortage. So irrespective of what we're going to do in the next 6 years, AusCyber predicts a shortage of 18,000 cybersecurity experts in Australia by 2026. So if you study something that's in demand, where there's a skills shortage that governments and enterprise and large companies have a big focus on, you're going to have a consistent availability of work and a very good career path. Now, some of the programs that we're introducing, I'll just go through some of the areas of study within those programs, and also just have a quick chat about some of the other areas of study within the programs. And then I'll hand over to Michael to talk about the job opportunities that come as a result of that. So one of the programs that we run is Certified Cyber Incident Response Manager. Now, that program in itself and the programs are built under the NICE framework, which we'll talk about shortly. And NICE framework is very important because it's going to be, I suppose, a gold standard moving forward for companies and academia to match up the requirements and push people into the right areas of study. So Cyber Incident Response Manager, in this program, we cover identification and remediation of incidents, threat intelligence and collection, investigative techniques, creating playbooks, and malware triage. Then we move on to Certified Cybersecurity Operations Manager. This one includes cloud security, threat intelligence collection, vulnerability management, biometric security systems, NICE cybersecurity workforce framework. The next one we have is cybersecurity programs for Certified Disaster Response and Recovery Manager. BCP, which is business continuity planning, design and development strategies, risk management frameworks, qualitative and quantitative analysis, recovery site management, and cloud data strategies, as well as a number of other options. And then finally, we have the Certified Network Forensic Analysis Manager. And this program covers incident response management, live data collection, analysis methodology, and malware triage. So we've got a number of key programs where you achieve a certification under the framework that's been developed that companies will recognize and identify with, that will give you a clear pathway into management roles within cybersecurity. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce Michael Kaplan. He's the Director of Phase 2 Advantage. Michael is also the Chairman of the Cybersecurity Advisory Committee at the Savannah Technical College. And Michael's technical areas of specialisation are around incident response, business continuity, disaster response, planning, information security management, and digital or network forensics. So Michael, thank you. I understand and appreciate that it's very late for you being based in the US, but I think the people on this call are definitely in for a treat to hear from you. So thank you very much. And I'll hand over to you and go through the following slides. If you'd just like to do an introduction to yourself and also Phase 2, that would be great.
Yeah, Stephen, thanks. I appreciate you having me here, and I'm thrilled that we have so many people that are in attendance. And it's never too early or too late to show up and help a brother down in the land down under. So I promise you that. No worries there. Excuse me. Phase 2 Advantage has been around since 2014. We started out as an operational cyber organization. We found ourselves transitioning due to need and due to request to certification creation, curriculum design, which then morphed into publishing and instructional design, which then put us into the academic space. We still do the operational cyber, but the training and development and the actual instructional design for the academic institutions has become a really big part of what we do. We operate in 18 countries now, courtesy of you and our relationship with ITIC. We can say 19, and I'm thrilled to have that partnership with ITIC. It's just a wonderful time to be in cyber. It's a wonderful time to be training. The interest is so great. The enthusiasm is so great. I work with a lot of universities and colleges, as do you, as do most of us. And it's just amazing to see just these students and people involved in the industry who just perceive such a bright future. And I'm truly blessed to be a part of it. So thank you for helping me to do that by having me here.
That's a pleasure. And thank you for once again for staying up. I think it's an ungodly hour where you are right now. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. So Michael, just wanted to get you to go over the NICE framework and how that has assisted in the development of these programs that ITIC and Phase 2 Advantage will be delivering in partnership.
Well, excuse me. The NICE framework is a cooperative effort done in parallel execution between the government, the U.S. government, academia, and corporate. Government funded it, but nobody really has the lead. They're co-equal. The purpose of the NICE framework was to come up with a common lexicon, a common vision, and planning the staffing needs of cyber going forward. This has helped in a number of ways. It's always a work in progress. It consists of seven categories, 33 specialty areas, 52 work roles, and over 2,000 KSAs, knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks. So anyway, where this actually helps us is by having this common lexicon, by having a common understanding of what is involved in each one of those work roles. Schools can develop curricula that align with the framework. The private sector can create, whether it's hiring managers or whether it's human resources, can now start creating job descriptions that align with the framework, which then align with the people that are looking for employment. And then the government, of course, fits in and does the exact same thing. So it gives structure. It also allows people to understand what the expectations are in their particular roles, whatever that role may be. So not only for a role that they aspire to go into, let's say at an entry level or what have you, but as it relates to retention, as it relates to promotion, it gives a clear pathway as people want to move up the cyber chain and just identify those skills that we expect everybody to have. Once again, it's a work in process, constantly evolving, but by aligning around this particular framework, it just puts everybody into the same sheet of music and makes things a lot easier.
Well, thank you for that. And the next slide that I've just got up at the moment, I've actually posted the link to the dashboard for the NICE framework. Now, this is something that's supported by the Signals Directorate and also AustCyber. And this framework has been adopted for use within Australia as well. So these learnings that you can engage with either from a work integrated learning perspective or just a direct course training perspective are going to give you the knowledge and the process for you not only at the start of your career, but the term that you said the other day, Michael, which is from hire to retire. So basically the framework covers the full career span of people from within cyber. So as I said, I've posted the link to the dashboard. And what does the dashboard look like? You can go into AustCyber through that link, and you can actually select your role and have a look at the in real time what sort of specialty areas that are incorporated, and that refers back to the NICE framework. And there's also other documentation available here through AustCyber, as well as through the phase 2 course material as well. Okay, so the next question I had for you, Michael, is around cohesive partnership. So one of the things that we talked about was how do these certifications that we're partnering on to provide our students coming through the universities, how do they complement their academic studies, and how will they assist them? How does that sort of fit together from both a university and a student perspective?
Good question. Actually, in a number of ways, from a number of different perspectives. Certifications are really important. They establish a benchmark and a body of knowledge. Despite universities' best efforts, it's really hard to look at a course description, let's say in a course catalog, and understand exactly what happened in the classroom. So certifications are important in that they establish the benchmark of knowledge. I always say that certifications will get you into the door, they'll get you an interview, and they may even get you a job, but academia is going to get you your career, right? That's what's going to keep you in that space. So it's really important to have a balance of both. Where we're excited from the curriculum design perspective is we ensure that all the courses that we create are done in such a way where they can be delivered, let's say in a professional development, continuing education type of way within the industry. But then at the same time, they're structured such that they can be incorporated very easily into an academic program and complement what they're actually teaching in the classroom. So for example, books that we do for certifications, perhaps, they get used in the classroom, even though they're not doing the certifications per se. The real world information we bring in gets into the students' hands. It supports their academic program and does it in a way that they could not do with, let's say, a theoretical textbook. But both complement each other. The certifications that by themselves, I mean, they'd be valuable, but academia gives them value as much as the certifications gives the academic experience value. And I think you need to have a healthy balance of both if you're going to be successful And at the end of the day, this is an exercise in lifelong learning. So as long as you embrace that, because we can get very stale very quickly, Stephen, you know that. And academia and the industry and the certifications all just work together to ensure that that doesn't happen. So it really does fit together quite nicely for somebody who wants a career in this space.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things that we embrace within the work integrated learning programs is that we've actually universities to embed the work experience as well as the certification training, as well as that hands-on experience and knowledge to complement the academic studies. And it's actually recognised through the Australian Computer Society and accredited through the Australian Computer Society as part of allowing the students to complete the master's students that we work with to complete their final semester in work integrated learning program, which lasts for the 13-week period, which is the term of their semester. So I think it and as I've shown in that picture there, just to bridge the gap, use the certifications to bridge the gap between academia and industry. So giving not only the long-term academic certification qualification that's going to, as you said, create the career, but the certification that's going to be recognised to get people in the door and give them a head start against people who don't hold those certifications, be instantly recognised through the NICE framework as being suitable for various roles based on the management certification that's been achieved. So I think that's great. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is go through some of the roles that people would be looking at doing as part of the after doing the certification courses. So firstly, this section is called What Certification and Role, and we've got a list of some of the roles that would be relevant to the Certified Cyber Incident Response Manager. But with this one, I just like, and the following 3 slides, I'd just like you to give the people on the call just an idea of the types of roles, because it seems very vast and lots of different options. But just maybe a brief summary of a few of them and what that might entail and what sort of path that would lead people to as well.
Okay, sure, Stephen. I have to say this right up front. When the NICE framework was put together, and it states it quite clearly in the NIST publication, it was meant to be a guide. It was meant to be changed and morphed and turned into a thing that could be personalized, that could be customized, whether you were in corporate government, what have you. So when people go into the NICE framework and they're looking at these work roles, for example, and they see all the knowledge, skills, abilities, tasks, what the general description responsibilities are, what have you, those are actually meant to be a guide. They can be added to or taken away from based on the need of whoever is using the framework. So I ask people to keep that in mind as they look at this. The incident response is interesting because it's such a massive topic. Incident response touches virtually everything in cyber when we have any type of an exploit. It can be cybercrime, it can be some type of a breach, it can be insider threats, it can be anything, which is why when you look at cyber incident response, you see so many different work roles underneath this because it has so many different applications. So for example, information system security manager, that's going to be your CISO. That's going to be somebody usually managing a SOC who needs to understand multiple facets of cyber. In incident response, they have to have a network of knowledge. Knowledge of network. They need to understand TCP/IP protocols. They need to understand network architecture. We need to understand malware. We need to understand how investigations are covered. A lot of people are really good on the technical side, but they've never had the experience of going through any type of law enforcement, and they don't know how to conduct proper investigations, interviews, document them, so on and so forth. So it is really, this is one of the few areas where if you are an incident response, it's going to touch everything. So cybercrime investigator, you might be called because somebody's violating some authorized use policy or doing something they're not supposed to be doing in a corporate network. Vulnerability assessment, you have to know how to go into a network, intercept data, find data, intercept malware, find out where the source is, right? What the root cause is. There's your vulnerability assessment. Exploitation, already explained. Cyber defense incident responder. These are the people who are typically manning the SOCs and the NOCs and who are 24/7 responsible for the protection of the network. And then this is interesting, threat warning analyst. You'll see this fall under a few different of the categories. But a threat warning analyst tends to be a little bit more proactive because they have good investigative capabilities. They have good interviewing capabilities. That is the nature. This tends to be a little bit more proactive. These are the people who are going into the dark web. These are the people that are scanning the network, listening for the signals, trying to separate the noise, who are trying to detect the threats prior to them happening. They want to see the 0 day before it's 0 day. So that happens to be a really interesting job, and it's gaining more prominence, at least here in the States. But that one truly represents all the capabilities that one needs to have inside incident response. And if you have that investigative mindset, if you're geared in that way, plus the technical knowledge to understand that network environment, that job is going to be, that role is going to be in huge demand going forward as we move more into offensive cyber and proactive cyber as opposed to defense.
Okay, excellent. That was very comprehensive, and thank you for taking the time to go through all of those. Okay, so the next one is the Certified Cybersecurity Operations Manager. So I'd ask you to just go through and describe that in the same way.
Okay, this one will be a lot easier to describe. When this course was put together, it was put together on 16 domains that we had determined, or the industry had determined and has spoken to us, that they felt a cybersecurity operations manager or security operations or an IT operations manager needed to know. So this is an interesting course in that the 16 domains that are in that are standalone domains. And why this is important is because now, especially with the advent of the CISO positions that we see popping up so extensively here in the States, we had the network architects that were on one side, and then we had the CIOs on the other side, and then we have the tech people on this side. Nobody was a bridge to be able to the bridge between business process alignment and the technical side. A lot got lost in the translation. So when positions like CISO or information security manager, what have you, were created, they needed somebody who had a very broad base of knowledge, but at the same time understood how to align that with business processes or governmental processes and make it work. So all these leadership positions that you see presuppose, and if you look at, once again, the NICE framework, you're going to see a lot of requirements, a huge amount of requirements, but not to be a subject matter expert per se, like a forensics analyst would have to be, but a level of familiarity such that you are comfortable with one leg in both worlds, operating on the technical side and in the administrative side, and be that communication plane between both. And that's really what all these roles that you're looking at right here actually do. If you think about it, the cyber instructor, same thing, being the one-off, because if you're an instructor, you're working for the government, you're working for academia, you're working for corporate. Yes, you're teaching cyber, but at the same time, you're teaching it within a contextual framework of that agency. So once again, you have to take their processes and align your instruction to that. So even as a cyber instructor, you have to be able to bridge that gap between process alignment and technical alignment. That's what all these have in common.
Excellent. So moving on to the next one. So we have our Certified Disaster Response and Recovery Manager. So I'll head over to you for that one again.
This is interesting, especially in the COVID age. I think it's fair to say, regardless of where you are in the world, COVID, if there was a bug in the code, if there was a weakness in the system, if there was a glitch in the matrix, I think COVID exposed it. We had a lot of things break that we didn't even know were in danger of breaking, as far as capacity, as far as our internal systems go. Excuse me. So what disaster response and recovery is about is two parts. It's business continuity, which is the important thing. What do we do to make sure our business stays viable, our operation, our governmental operation stays viable, and we maintain that competitive advantage, whether it's against a nation state or whether it's against another corporation. But then what happens, because we cannot plan for everything, what happens if things do go wrong? What contingencies have we put in place? What are the weaknesses we've identified? What is our planning scenarios? It's a difficult job. Being able to do any type of impact analysis, try to predict the future, which nobody can do, be expected to do it well, and then plan all the contingencies behind it. It's a really challenging position. That's why you see policy and strategy, part of the triad, right? You've got administrative, you've got technical, and you've got physical security. Without the three, if one's missing, everything falls apart. Your threat warning analyst, being able to see things in advance. Partner integration, your upstream, downstream dependencies. Who are you working with to make sure your continuity stays continuous? Knowledge manager, of course, that's self-explanatory. Control assessor, that's hugely important, not just at your primary location, but what about your backups? What about your contingencies? How do we control the process of managing the chaos? And then an all-source analyst, which is that military intelligence mindset, the investigative mindset, because you have to be able to do predictive analysis with any available source that you've got and put it together in a cohesive plan. Very challenging, yet very rewarding position to be in if you can get into that space.
Excellent. Okay, so just moving on to the final certification, which is Certified Network Forensic Analysis Manager. So what have we got to cover on these ones?
This is fun. This is digital forensics plus incident response equals network forensics. You typically do not have network forensics without having something in incident response. The big difference in network forensics is you're working with live data acquisition as opposed to what we call dead box, which is a hard drive in a controlled environment. Being able to go into these environments, these live networks, identify what you're looking for, collect it, and bring it back, at which point it turns into digital forensics. So this is very closely related to the incident response, but with more of a focus on the investigative approach, the forensic approach, and the concerns that we're looking for. For example, if you're a CEO and you have a breach, you want the breach shut down. Your people in incident response may want to be investigating it to find root cause. And the people in the network forensics are going to want to investigate it because they're going to want to know about the malware. They're going to want to know about the systems. They're going to want to be able to tell forensically what data has been exfiltrated, what things have been perpetrated. So almost like the incident response, but having a background in digital forensics incorporated into that is what network forensics looks like. And once again, look at the work roles that NICE came up with, and you'll see that they're very similar to the incident response position, just with the forensic focus.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And really appreciate you going through all of those roles, because I think it's really important for the people who are attending today and those who see this video in the future to understand what career paths and what opportunities there are within cyber. It's quite extensive, the variance of different things that you can do. And when you incorporate a lifetime of learning approach, you can, as we said, hire to retire within cyber. It's a whole career path within itself. Now, I'm really excited to bring up the next slide. because in addition to the partnership with you, Michael, and Phase 2 Advantage, we're also doing a strategic alliance with Cicadas. Now, a big part of the Phase 2 training and the thing that is in addition to the standard methods of teaching and learning, is the fact that it incorporates a gamified training platform called Project Aries. So what we'll do now is we'll go and obviously also acknowledging Laurie Webb, who's on the call, who will have available on the panel at the end for any questions. We're just going to go through a few slides to talk about some of the key areas within Project Aries, and how that relates to and how that ties into the curriculum as part of the phase certifications. So what we'll bring up in the first instance, so we have our battle school, and we'll go through one and the series of slides for everyone. And I'll hand over you to Michael to just give an overview, high-level overview of this.
I've seen this before somewhere. No, Circadence has done an incredible job with Project Aries. It's broken down into a number of key components. It's a very in-depth, very complex but not complicated platform. It's intuitive. It was built to be intuitive for students, for people who are inside this immersive learning environment. So you don't need to have a degree in rocket science to be able to use it, which is something that I really enjoy about it, the intuitive nature. So the joy of Project Aries, we have missions, which are real world, red team, blue team, a wide variety of scenarios, practical missions, using practical tools that people are going to be using out there in their workspace, whatever they might happen to be doing. Those are really what I consider to be the capstone, the real world training. That's where you got to hone your skills and test them. Then we have the battle school. Inside of the battle school, and this is where we spend a lot of our time, a media center that is rich with resources that align directly to the different battle rooms, as we'll see, that align to general cyber, that align to scenarios, that align to missions. One could spend a lot of time in that media center and just filling their head with knowledge, whether it be videos, URLs, what have you. We have a game room, mini games, and it sounds, some people will be like, game room, I want to learn cyber. But all these games are based off of games that people are familiar with, and they're built around cyber themes. So people don't really realize how sticky these games are. It's like, yeah, I'll take a look at it for 2 minutes, and then 2 hours later, they're still playing these games, but they're learning important things, ports, ports and protocols, and basic cyber knowledge. And then we have the battle schools. So the battle schools are really what really teach the skills. And the different battle rooms, the different battle rooms are aligned once again with work roles in a nice framework. So you'll see a battle room for system integrator, one for forensics, you'll see one for Linux, you'll see one for network analyst, network traffic analyst. Once again, using all the tools and skills that align with the nice framework that one would be expected to know when they step out and come out into the real world. And then the last thing I'll throw at you is the assessments. We're going to see all of this tomorrow night in real time. But the assessments are really valuable because it's a self-check for students. Yes, sorry, didn't mean to get ahead of you. It's a self-check for students, but the other really good thing about these assessments is, yeah, they can be used as testing, but where we're finding where we're finding people are embracing this is in skill assessment for pre-candidate screening. Anybody can put anything on a resume, claim they learned something, whatever it might be. So an employer now, whether it be private sector, government, academia, what have you, can actually sit somebody down with these assessments and say, okay, let's take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and let's just have you run through. You say you know this particular tool, you have this skill, love it. Show me, please. And we're seeing a lot of value coming out with that. This is also building confidence in the student body because they understand that. And if they can do the assessments and do them well, they walk out knowing that they are truly qualified to use those tools and do that job. So it's not just to put people on the spot. It is truly a confidence builder for people who are operating inside of the platform.
Excellent. So just the final slide here was the Media Center, which you briefly mentioned, Michael. So if you just want to go through that quickly as well.
Okay, once again, the Media Center, rich repository of resources. So you have the general cybersecurity that everybody needs to know. Defensive specialization, as we know, the missions, you showed the slide for the missions, some are red, some are blue. So the blue are going to be defensive, the red are going to be offensive. By the way, we're never the bad guys. An offensive mission is good guys being proactive to stop bad guys from doing bad things to us. So we're never trying to impersonate the bad guys when we do this. That's really important to know. But offensive cyber is a reality and people need to understand that. So everything in the media resource library that people are going to see defensive are going to align with the tools, the missions, and the tasks that have anything defensive in nature. And the same thing applies, of course, for the offensive specialization. And this is where, because cyber tends to be more defensive than anything else, or has been in the past, a lot of people step into this offensive specialization and discover tools and resources that they didn't even know existed because they've been in a defensive mindset. So altogether, it's a great package, very comprehensive, and one could spend much time just immersed in the resources section of project areas alone and feel very enriched from it.
Yeah, so as part of, I'm just going to post the link to tomorrow night's session in the chat. So if you haven't already registered, I'd encourage you to do so. Now, what we're going to do tomorrow, and as Michael said, it's very comprehensive, the platform. So we've invited Joshua Self from Cicadence to present to us tomorrow night, and that will just be a full immersive live demo of Project Aries. So I'd really encourage you and all of your friends to come along and have a look at this, because it is really awesome to see it in action, what it can do. Now, what we're going to do at this point is to open up for questions. So if you do have a question, and there's a few that have come through during the session, but if you do have a question, either put it into the chat or put it into the Q&A panel. So we'll open questions up for Michael, Wade, who's from CyberArms, and Laurie, who's from Cicadence. If you have any general questions, or for myself as well, about anything to do with the training program, we'll do that now. But we'll just start with a couple of the ones that have come through. Now, before I do that, I'll bring up the last slide. Now, for the programs, if you have any questions that you'd like to follow up with us afterwards, just email jobs@itic.com.au. And then we also have our QR codes for all the socials, so feel free to follow us and get updates on social media. So one of the questions that came through was from David around, what does gamified mean? So when we talk about gamified, we talk about, or gamified learning, what we talk about is, rather than a traditional classroom-based or online-based learning program, which is definitely a very, very important part of the program, which we work on extensively with you to give traditional teaching and learning in cyber. Gamified means that, you know, it's basically a game that's been created that you learn as a part of. So it's a you know, reasonably new idea. It's something that we certainly see a lot of benefit in, as far as the way that people learn. And some people learn through hearing things or seeing things, and games is definitely a great way to teach people. So one of the things that Michael said is by the time you've you know, done all your missions and gone into your battle rooms and looked at all the resource center and all those different aspects of it, and competed against teams in real time, you'll come out of it with a fairly good knowledge of hands-on how to be an offensive or defensive, blue hat type role. So that's really exciting from my perspective. Now, one of the other questions from Manthan, how do I start cybersecurity and which kind of tools and programming languages are required to do this? I might throw that one over to you. So Michael, as someone starting out in the industry, what sort of tools or programming languages would you recommend as far as, effectively what would be key into a site, getting into a site, some sort of a cyber role as a baseline learning?
As a baseline, I joke with students that I interact with, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. What languages do I need to know? All of them. What tools do I need to know? As many as I possibly can, but we can't do that all at once, obviously. That's something that you were learning. When you see what cyber actually touches, and this is something that people ask, what programming language, what higher order programming language do I need to know? There's instances of cyber and work roles that don't touch programming languages. They deal with risk management, risk assessment, personally identifiable information, healthcare. These people have they haven't been coders in their entire life. So is that a requirement? I would say it's good to know. Obviously, your top languages, Python and Java and what have you, anything you can learn is going to be great. But are you being a coder coming out of the box, is that really going to help you in the cyberspace? Well, that depends what kind of work role you're in. If you're in incident response and you're working with Snort or Suricata tools, and you're writing indicators of compromise that your systems are then going to use and search out the network to find potential threats, yes, having a background in languages is going to be really important. On the other hand, if you're doing disaster response and you're not touching that, then maybe it won't be. I will tell this to everybody. A lot of people get fixated and focused. If possible, start broadly. People say, I saw a movie, I saw The Matrix, I want to be a hacker. And they focus specifically on that thing. All fine and good, but I think that causes them to miss the broader picture. I would suggest sampling, just like you would do in university. How many people change their majors in university by the time they get to their third year? You don't know, especially if you don't know what's out there. Start broad base of knowledge, understand networks, understand information security. And then as you build that broad base of knowledge, you can start to discover areas that you become passionate about. It doesn't lock you into them. And then you pursue them a little bit more for specialization, which will then open up other doors that you didn't even know existed, which brings you down all new paths. And you end up someplace that you never could have possibly predicted right from the beginning. So common languages, Java, Python, broad base of knowledge, information assurance, information security network, network topology, network security. And then from there, move into the more specific, instead of making the mistake of starting specific and then finding out you missed a lot of opportunity in a world of options.
Very comprehensive answer. Well done. Now, anyone who's attendee on the call, do we have any more questions? So if so, please feel free to type them in the Q&A panel or into the chat. What I might do is just, I'm not sure if I'll put Laurie on the spot, but Laurie, if you'd just like to say hello and just do a quick welcome and introduction to tomorrow night's session, that would be great. And just maybe give us a little bit of a background on Josh and tomorrow's session. That would be wonderful. Just 30 seconds, not
Sure.
too in depth.
Yeah, sure, absolutely wonderful, and happy to be here. So Josh Shelf is our Vice President of Strategy, and then tomorrow he'll join the call and do a little deeper dive into project areas and talk a little bit about that learning platform. So yeah.
thank you very much for joining, and I appreciate yourself and Michael in particular for joining the call. I believe it's probably getting towards, what time is it there? Is it 2:25, Michael? Where you are?
That would be probably about right, Stephen.
And you still
It's
look
okay. We've
wonderfully
got to wake up in 2 hours. We have to wake up in 2 hours anyway. So you just got us to the coffee a little bit more quickly than we would have on another day.
highly efficient, ready to go. And look, I just, if Wade, if you want to say a quick and just maybe give a 30 seconds on cyber arms as well, just to let people know website and what they can do as a management or manager within cyber, that would be great. And that's assuming. Oh, here he comes. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. I'm actually home with the kids around, so I might hear some background noises, but yeah, sure. Thanks for the opportunity, and I should say thank you to Michael and Laurie and yourself. Yeah, quickly, just telling you that. So I believe that cybersecurity is actually a shared responsibility, and so then, especially, working in the IT field, so I have about 12 experience working in IT operations, and I see a lot of cases that IT people, they focus on the area of their expertise, but these days we need to focus on cybersecurity. With we are in the era of amplified, cyber attacks. So that's highlighted, and that's very important. And so we should rethink cybersecurity. This is what I say.
Certainly, and take a holistic approach. I think what we're building and what the momentum that we're going to build through these programs, I think will help immensely with that. Now, it's been monitoring the Q&A panel as well as the chat, so there's no further questions. So what I'll do at this point would be extend a warm level of gratitude to all of the panelists, and thank you especially for those who are in the early hours of the morning in the US. Really appreciate you coming online for the program. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's session as well, and we're following up on Friday with Jeton, who's the Executive Director of ITIC, who's going to talk about strategy and compliance and personal liability for directors within a cybersecurity landscape. So looking forward to that one. And look, really appreciate the attendees coming along and sticking right to the end. So the numbers have stayed fairly steady. So I think Michael, we've done a great job in keeping people engaged and the interest throughout this. So I appreciate everyone staying around for the full hour. If you haven't already done so, as I said, register for tomorrow for Josh's session. That's going to be great also. Wish you all a good evening, and for those of you who follow the state of origin, go the Blues. And
thank you for having us, Stephen. It's a pleasure being here, working with you, and to your attendees as well. And I attribute the interest to the topic, not to me. I promise you that. Cyber's just interesting. It's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's great careers out there for all of those who have an interest. So really encourage you to pursue that and follow through with that. So on that note, thank you once again. Really appreciate everyone's effort and time in joining. All of this will be published on social media, as well as those who registered but weren't able to attend. We'll email out to all of you, and feel free to share this amongst your friends and colleagues as well. So thank you everyone once again, and have a great evening.
You too, Stephen. You and everybody else. Have a wonderful night, day, evening, whatever.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. All the best.
Bye-bye.